Good evening. I come to you live tonight from Toronto, Canada, on this Christmas Eve to present to you my lesson plan that I did on Kristallnacht or Crystal Night. I want to provide some analysis and also insight to this horrific event that occurred in 1938 in Germany and how it ties into the New York State learning standards, as well as differentiation instruction, and as well as the curriculum that is set up for ELA and social studies in 8th grade. First of all, to start off with, this is a great format for students to enrich their knowledge about this event, because within the social studies content, sometimes time is limited and you can't focus on important specific events like the Holocaust and Kristallnacht. And teaching it in ELA in a collaborative, interdisciplinary lesson plan format allows you to expand upon the information that students can get from learning it in ELA. And they do, going into the lesson, it's great because they have prior knowledge. For example, in social studies in the curriculum, the students have been learning about World War II and the Holocaust in 8th grade social studies class. Students have been exposed to vocabulary words such as Holocaust, genocide, and anti-Semitism, and pogroms. Additionally, the students have learned the causes of World War II, the background information about Adolf Hitler, the Nazi Party, and the objectives of the Third Reich. They've done this through viewing History Channel biographies of Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich, and they've also been assessed in social studies. So that's background information that they have already going into this assessment. The first thing that I started off with was motivation for students in the Think, Pair, Share activity, and it was based around a KWL, Know, Want to Know, and Learning format strategy. It asked students to first make a list in a Think, Pair, Share in groups where they would list facts that they know about the Holocaust, what they know already. So this motivates the students to say, hey, listen, I have some insight, I already have prior knowledge, let's recall that prior knowledge, and that opens up a discussion amongst the class. Regardless of learning level or disability, students of all levels can contribute to the discussion and contribute to the facts. Then they would create one question each that they would want to know about, further information that they would want to know. And that's a great format for the beginning of what I would use as a Socratic seminar, which is a great discussion format. And it allows for students to discuss with each other exactly, what they know about the topic. It also solicits questions from students to students, so it's peers talking to peers during the discussion. So that's how the motivation for this lesson plan would begin. Then after that, what we would do is we're going to watch a video that provides background information about Auschwitz, what went on during the Holocaust in prison camps. And the students would share facts about the video that they've watched. And this would contribute to the reading of the poem later on, Crystal Night, Night of Broken Glass, by Lynn Lifshin. And during this time, the students, and this ties into the ELA curriculum, would be pulling out foreshadowing topics from the poem and bringing that into the Holocaust, which they would do by showing what the foreshadowing is, which they've already been taught about foreshadowing, exactly what that is, and they would list what examples of foreshadowing. Once they have done that, that's going to apply later on to the learned part of the KWL, because the assessment for this lesson plan is going to be an exit slip that is going to ask students to list 2 new facts that they've learned about Crystal Night and the Holocaust, and then list 2 examples of foreshadowing from the poem. Now, this could be differentiated. The assessment could be changed a little bit for the ELL and the students with reading disabilities by providing more time in an alternate environment, also the utilization of Microsoft Word to type their answers, and cutting the amount of work in half, meaning list 1 new fact. also provide one example of foreshadowing from the poem. So that's lesson one. And KWL was really the biggest part of lesson number one. Lesson number two starts off, the motivation is a dramatization of a police officer, a German police officer, official, reading to the class. Well, the class would be lined up as if they're Jewish citizens, having the police enforcement rules read to them, as if they're the Jewish citizens being removed from their home and being, persecuted and assaulted at this time. So the dramatization is the motivation for the lesson, and the students are going to take on the role of the Jewish citizens. And again, once this motivation concludes, the students are going to sit down and, I think, pair share, write down a couple of facts, 2 facts that they've learned about what the rules and regulations that the police were enforcing on that night. And then we're going to have a Socratic discussion for roughly 5 minutes based off of the rules. And again, this would provide students of all learning levels and disabilities the time to be able to speak about, the discussion-based format about Kristallnacht and provide insight to the rules and laws and regulations. The next part of this lesson would move into a newspaper article. And this newspaper article was written in 1938 by the New York Times about Kristallnacht. And what happened there was it specifically gave examples of the Jews crying out for help and no one listening to them. It was reported the next day after the event happened, after Kristallnacht happened. Now, we will read that in the planned format to predict, locate, add, and note. And that's a proven reading strategy that will be used in this lesson plan. And it ties in with IEPs of ELL students and students with reading disabilities, because it's providing them a format where we're breaking down the reading and it becomes simplified, and the comprehension part of it becomes clearer for the students. Now, when we're using this strategy, the whole idea behind it is, in the end, the comprehension will be there, and the students will then be broken into groups because we've gotten the key questions answered based off this newspaper article, and the students will break into groups, and their specific jobs is going to be in a role, audience, format, and topic-based assessment. That's called a RAFT, role, audience, format, and topic. And the role that the students will take on is the newspaper reporter in 1938. The audience, the world, Europe, the United States, and the world. The format, they're speaking about Kristallnacht. They're speaking about the persecution, the assault on the Jewish population of Germany on this specific night. And the topic is Kristallnacht. And what they're going to do is collaboratively, in a group of 4 students, write this newspaper article, and the jobs will be broken up for each student. One student will be the organizer, and then all students will gather facts from the videos and the prior lessons and collaborate and write the newspaper article that's going to be no shorter than 8 sentences, 8 to 10 sentences long, with an introduction and a conclusion, so 12 altogether. While that's occurring, 2 students will be gathering some images, and that's going to be part of the PowerPoint presentation, and they have to have 2 captions based off of the images. And this will all go into a PowerPoint presentation and will be graded as a group. And an example of student work is the following PowerPoint presentation. And you'll be able to see that, the students are able to collaborate by writing this. And this is the example here, Kristallnacht newspaper article, example of student work. Short of reading the entire paragraph that's written, this would be an example. Just to read the last paragraph, it certainly appears that this is a planned assault and attack on the Jewish citizens, and the fate of their future is extremely horrifying as all are being transported from their homes to prison camps. These were facts that were gathered during the viewing of videos, during the reading of the poems, and during the introduction reading of Kristallnacht. These are the captions, or the images with the captions, that students with learning disabilities they could probably focus on this section because it's a visual part of it, and they're participating in the group work activity. And then with the captions, and of course, at the time, probably would be grouped in a homogeneous setting with the ELL students and the learning disability students grouped together in order for teachers to be able to assist them with the formation of the PowerPoint and the paragraphs. And this is just another example: home of Jewish citizens on fire, Jewish families removed forcefully from their homes and had to surrender their possessions to German police. Again, these are facts. Everything is grabbed from not only the plan, the strategy, but also from the notes and the key questions that students were answering. And again, Jewish men and women sent on march to be transported to prison camps. And this is an image of the Jewish citizens being transported. Jewish men and women were assaulted, and on the night of people were murdered for speaking against German police and the military. And that's the end of the PowerPoint. Now, what the reflection to this lesson plan is, it could appear that it's heavily built around a lot of reading, and the problem is that for ELL and learning disability students, reading disability students, it could be overwhelming at times. And what I realized through my reflection process is perhaps at times some of the learning disability or the ELL students could have been pulled out a little more frequently to review the readings, and possibly even during the video time. Rather than watch the video, they could watch that in pull-out time in resource room and answer questions and have the readings clarified. And while they would be using their assistive technology during the readings, they could further utilize the reading programs like Fast Forward or Read Please to enhance their capabilities of understanding and comprehending exactly what the readings were about. And I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and happy holidays here from Toronto, Canada.